I don't know why I said it like that, but welcome back. Sorry. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics. Cordage. It's not like a favorite thing, but I like it a lot. Oops, ripped it out here. I made a new list of 13 C's of survival. And I haven't, even though I've made reference to it a few times in other videos, I haven't really gone through the list. Now, that's not what this video is going to be about. We're going to be focused on one element of this, but I figured we could just run through it right quick. So the first is cover. Second is container, combustion, cutting tool. Number 5, cordage. Now, these first 5 are going to be very, very familiar to people who have already been in the prepper community, have already been survivalists, whatever you want to call yourself. This should be pretty well known. And I can't remember who pioneered this initial list. I want to say it might have been David Canterbury. Not 100% sure on that, but that's what I'm going to go with for at least for right now. If you know who actually did, or if that's correct, or if that's incorrect, let me know in the comments. But I felt like there was 13 things that I personally, at my skill level and where I go, would made sense to me to have. So in addition to those first 5, I added communication, care/cleanliness, which sometimes I lump into one group, sometimes I break them off. For right now, I'm lumping them together because that makes sense to me. They're kind of similar. Calories, meaning food, but we wanted to start with a C. A compass and map. Combat skills. The ability to stay cool or calm. Conditioning and community. So I talk a lot about conditioning. That's kind of the focus of this channel. Conditioning mostly being physical fitness and combat as well, because a lot of my physical fitness comes into martial arts. But we have talked about some of the other things as well. And today I'm going to talk about cordage. I'm not going to tell you any brand names or anything like that because I think that's irrelevant and I'm not a brand junkie. But there are certain things, when I was beginning prepping, I understood paracord. Everybody was talking about paracord whenever you bought those like emergency kits and things like that. Paracord was always included. And there's a lot of great things about paracord. I do like it. It's a very useful, very strong. I think, if you get the military grade 550 cord, I can't remember if that's the max weight or if that's the working load is 550 pounds. But either way, this is strong stuff, especially to be so thin. And it's got the 7 strands, and one has the green, which if I recall correctly, it's supposed to be like a fire starter, that green one. And so I've got a ton of paracord. I've got some that is military grade, like this stuff that I bought online. And then this came from just like your local, like a hunting or a camping store. And this one's reflective, and I'll often use this as like a tent or tarp tie down when I'm camping, or a line for the dog to run on. I usually tie one into a tree. I get the longest cord I can find, tie one into one tree, the other to another tree, and I make a dog run between the can. But the paracord is great for that. But what I found that I don't like about it is it holds water like a sponge. Like once it starts raining, forget about it. This thing becomes so heavy, it gets soaking wet. Not heavy like I can't carry it, but right now it's fairly lightweight. It absorbs so much water. Additionally, it stretches. It stretches like crazy. And maybe that's something that you want, but if you have a shelter set up with paracord, once that wind starts blowing, if it rains on you, and especially if it gets wet and all that, it's stretching more. You're going to be retightening all the time. assuming you're going to be at that location for a while. If you're just staying there one day, maybe it's fine. But I found that I didn't really like it so much for that reason. And it's kind of bulky, and realistically 550 pounds is a bit on the excessive side. I don't weigh that much. I probably wouldn't use this to climb anyway, but I'm like, what am I going to be tying up that I need 550 pounds worth? It just seemed excessive. So then I found this, I think they called it might be paracord as well, but I think it's 325 paracord. So it is much thinner. Oh, you know what? I take that back. That's not what I found next. I was watching some various videos and reading blogs, things like that, and tarred bank line. That's what I tried next. This seemed to be, a lot of people seem to be moving away from paracord for the camping and bushcrafting uses for those same reasons, and using something like a tarred bank line. Which I don't know the strength on it, but it does seem to be strong enough. It does do a very good job of holding down tarps and things like that. And it's black. It's got this, I guess, tar on it that makes it, I believe, more waterproof and a little bit tougher and things like that. And this stuff does work great. What I didn't like about it, though, was the fact that it is so thin. And I don't know if it's the tar itself, but it seems to, once I tie a knot in it, I have a really hard time getting that knot out. And I'm not tying just, bunk knots. I know several knots. I have a few that I use over and over again. And I have a hard time. A lot of times this ends up being disposable. I just cut it because I can't undo the knot, depending on what kind it is and how much tension I put on it. And so since that's happened quite a few times, I'm not crazy about this either. And it is nice that it doesn't absorb the water. It's much smaller. I don't remember how many feet I have bound up here, but I do know that if you just look at it, you can see there's a pretty significant difference in the diameter there. I don't know how well this is visible. This is. So you can carry significantly more bank line than you can paracord in the same amount of space. So there's that advantage as well. And this isn't going to give you 550 pounds. But you probably won't need that depending on what you're doing. And it really doesn't stretch. If it does stretch, it's minimal, certainly compared to the paracord. I haven't seen a whole lot of stretching with this. But like I said, I have a hard time untying it. And I think that's where the 325 paracord has come in. So this is also reflective, got it from the same store that I got this stuff from. And because it's a much smaller diameter, it is easier to pack. It doesn't have as much cordage in there, so it doesn't seem to hold as much water. It does still stretch a bit. So I was happier with this. I like the reflectivity of it, especially for what I'm using it for, especially as like at the dog line and tie down tents and all that. It's nice to see at night. I think it generally looks cool, which is another benefit of the paracord. It comes in so many different colors and styles if you care about that sort of thing. I don't really, for the most part. I just like it to be reflective most of the time. But yeah, you still got the stretching. And then that's when I found this. So this is tactical cord. I got this from the Army surplus store. And this says it has a 275 pound tensile strength. Flexible, UV resistant, four strand core, ties well. I have not yet used it because I bought this very recently. But just playing, I can never open things. Let's just do that. This is actually I bought two hanks of it, I guess, not a spool. And just playing with the other one, I feel like this might be it. This might be the stuff that I want. I have not gone camping yet because it is middle of January and we've got the polar vortex coming in. But it does not feel like it's gonna stretch. I don't feel any give there. It's very small diameter. It is comparable to the bank line. Let's see. That is very comparable to the bank line, but it's got a 275 pound limit, which I weigh less than that. So if I wanted to use this for some reason suspend myself, it seems very painful with such a thin rope, but I could do it. It came in a lot of different color options. You know, I don't know if it's waterproof or not. Does it say that? It is very flexible, and I did find that it did tie well. Now, I haven't used it to tested that to see how well those knots come out, but just doing that little knot that I did and pulling it, here's just a little overhand knot. I'm trying to pull it tight to see how that works. It seems more manageable than the bank line. The bank line, it's so this is like the paracord in the sense that you've got the 4 strands on the inside, and then it has this outer sleeve, I guess you could call it, like a braided sleeve that gives it the different colors. And so that kind of protects that core. Whereas the bank line is twisted on the outside. And so the problems I would run into is when I was trying to untie the knot, I would often end up damaging the, just kind of pulling and trying to use my nail to pull the knot loose. I would kind of damage the twist. Now, even though this is a smaller line, to me is always harder to untie, there's far less risk of me damaging the strands or threads strands, because it's coated in that, in this sleeve, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just feeling this, and this is going to come loose pretty easily. So I like that. No real world applications yet. I've only just, like I said, this one I just opened up, but I bought 2 of them. The other one I played with a bit, and it does tie the knots pretty nicely, and a lot of different colors to choose from. So I think this may be my go-to. Should we dip it in water? Let's get some water, see what it does. I haven't tried. Alright, so I've just got these all in water here. Let them sit for a minute, soak up some of that watery goodness. A little hydrogen, a little oxygen mixed together. Alright, so paracord, it's hard to tell from this in this manner, but if I go like that and kind of wring it out, water's definitely coming out of my hands. Not out of my hands, out onto my hands. And I can feel there's quite a bit of difference. Plus, I just know that paracord absorbs a ton of water. The bank line, hard to say. I don't think I feel a ton of difference there from where I kind of wring it out, except the difference that I feel is that those strands start to separate when I do that. And that's why I don't like it. The bank line works great on the roll. Once you start working with it, it's easy for it to separate, which I guess sometimes maybe that's what you want, to be able to separate those strands, to use thinner pieces. I guess maybe it seems too thick to sew with for me, but maybe fishing or something. But it comes loose too easy, in my opinion, to the point where I can't really use it. Let's just get to the good stuff. How did this one do? It does not feel like it absorbed very much water. If it did, I think a big part of it is because it's so thin. Perhaps it did absorb some. I can't really tell. It's softer, a little more manageable or malleable. It's not coming apart like the bank line. And if it did absorb water, it's such a thinner line that it's not, I don't think it's going to be enough or it's going to be a problem. It feels like once it's wet, I might be able to get some stretch though. I think I do feel some stretching. So there's our preliminary test. All in all, I think this is going to be my go-to for at least a little while. That may change over time. You know, for a while I thought the paracord was my go-to. And then I thought the bank line was. Now we're on a technical cord. So we just keep trying new things. See what works best. I downgrade these things they go from being camping cordage to bug out bag cordage to whatever. Just around the house playing, practicing knots, cordage. I think that's all I have to say about this. So if you have any questions, please leave some comments, like and subscribe. I will more than likely do some videos of how to tie some knots because tying knots is a lot of fun. Doesn't sound like fun, but it is. I enjoy it. It's relaxing and it's cool, and especially learning new knots. And so I'll probably do a video of some of my favorite knots later on. But for now, that's it for cordage. Thanks for watching. Delicious.